the floor.
Thank you all seniors for coming out. I've been saying for a while that seniors pay the bills in the city of Flint, and they have for years. Continue to pay taxes, they continue to be homeowners, and they are far underappreciated. The way what I said last week about this should be a $1 lease, I stand by. And I'll even go further, because if in another city, if they had a senior center, the city would be paying.
During council response.
I'm not sure if the speakers that came and spoke at the podium is aware that you guys received $450,000.
And you to see about getting that done, as far as getting the water tested by an outside source.
Thank you. Seeing as how everyone has had an opportunity to speak, I will take my time to speak. I want to correct something that's been bad information from the beginning. Something that was bad information during the process of campaigning, something that Elizabeth Taylor stood up here today and gave out bad information. I have never received $300,000. That is completely false. It has never happened. The lab has never received a dime. I actually do not own the lab. It is not my lab. It has never received a dime. So make sure that when we're talking, if we want to be taken seriously, that we tell the truth and that we don't lie just because it sounds good. I have never received $300,000. Full support of the senior center. Your council person in the first ward, who we don't need, I will entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman in the second ward.
so moved.
Saginaw Street to get to that property. And because they technically and legally would have the right to not have that property opened up, they could close it off, they could gate it, because he's being what they call landlocked. And he doesn't have an easement, so legally he needs to have an easement to say that he can access through their parking lot. Because what this does is take it all the way to Saginaw Street, and even though that is their parking lot and their entrance, that doesn't mean they'll own that property. He doesn't have a right to it unless it's legally done. Through you, Madam Chair, to Attorney Cups, have you heard anything about this? Have they given this an easement for the property?
I have not, but it's my understanding from reading of how the resolution, the amended resolution is worded, that this description would allow access off that side road to the parking lot for this business.
Can you find the part in there that states that? Because I know that was a big issue when it came up.
Well, the change, if I may, Madam.
Yes, if you got it, Mr. Evans,
Well, it says,
please.
it talks about the 133 feet east of North Saginaw Street. And I thought Ms. Dorr mentioned that would be the point at which both parties would be able to access their areas from that location. That's what I recall her saying.
Right, but then he needs to have a legal, real estate law is going to tell you, he has to legally have it put so it's actually on the deed, as we're changing all this, that he has access to that property, that he has a right of way to enter and to leave on that property. Do we have that, Attorney Cups?
And I don't believe we need that. As I read the language again of the resolution, it's still a public road up until that 130 whatever feet it is. So that's still public right-of-way, public road, which, as I understand it, allows access to the parking lot for the private business.
So they're saying that it goes up, it splits it to right behind his parking lot and then blocks it from where his access all the way to North Street? Is that what we're saying?
The 133 feet in.
Okay.
Once you pass that point,
Then he
it was
doesn't
blocked.
have-
It was blocked that
Okay,
direction.
so the amendment is, so it's done then now. So we're good to go with that, Attorney Cups?
Correct. In the resolution
And
as
with the
amended,
amendment.
it makes that clear.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else in the first round? Anyone else in the second round? Seeing none, we are voting to approve Resolution 240-232.1, the street vacation on Dewey Street. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Mashat,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer, Mr. Jarrett?
I abstain as my family has interest in the property.
Mr. Alamin?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy is absent. Ms. Priestley is absent. The vote is 5 yes. I'm sorry, Ms. Winfrey Carter. Mr.
Yes.
The vote is 6 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention.
The vote is 6 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention, so that resolution passes. So now we're on to Resolution 240301.1. What's the pleasure of the body? Oh. Go ahead, Ms. Mashat.
I make a motion that we pass Resolution 240301.1, which is the amended resolution reallocation of ARPA funds grants for youth job training with the Greater Flint Health Coalition.
All right, any support? Supported by the councilman in the first ward. Any discussion? Any discussion in the, go ahead.
Oh. Can you, I know you're walking and, can you explain what this one is? I like your gym shoes. They look comfy, they're comfy cute. If you can, have we seen this one before?
Yeah, you guys pass it on, because you just, talked about, we talked about it because, you know, we do a lot of partnerships with the Greater Flint Health Coalition. And I know that they have interns and stuff there because I work with them a lot. And so we
Okay.
talked about that, with a Monday night.
How many interns do they have?
I'm not sure how
We just
many.
got all of this.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, we discussed this during finance meeting on Wednesday,
Madam
and they
Chair,
came
I have
here.
the floor, you're taking the
Oh,
floor.
no.
You didn't act, I got the floor.
So this was a point of
Madam-
information for you, Ms. Burns. Proceed.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
So how many interns do they have?
I'm not sure, but I know about 5 of them.
About 5?
That I work with personally through recast and the CVI programs.
Are they currently working?
Yes.
So a lot is just to catch up to replace the money because they've been working, but to balance it.
Yeah,
Because
and I think they want to add some more.
School is out.
No,
Or
no,
school
these
is
are-
back in now, isn't it? School is not like with traditionally, everybody went back to
Right.
school the first week in September.
Right.
Everybody go back to school at a different time now.
Yeah, but theirs are not school age. All of theirs are not
Okay.
school age. Yeah.
What's their ages?
Some of the ones that I'm working with are probably like around 22, 23
Okay, because I know the museum did 18.
through 26, I think.
Yeah.
So
they
they're
were-
around that age, yes.
Okay, so it's a
Right.
kind of like college age.
Yes.
then.
Yes.
Okay, so then that makes that, okay. All right, I'll thank you. I'll allow my colleagues if they've got questions on it.
Anyone else in the first round? Anyone else in the second round? All right, so we're going to go ahead and call for the vote. And this is to pass Resolution 240301.1, an amended resolution for the reallocation of ARPA funds for the Greater Flint Health Coalition. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer? Mr. Jarrett?
Mr. Jarrett?
Mr. Alamin?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
And the vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. That resolution passes. So now we move on to Resolution 240322, the grant acceptance for the budget amendment transfer of funds to Community Foundation of Greater Flint, Department of Business and Community Services. What's the pleasure of the body?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Councilwoman in the 7th Ward.
I make a motion that we pass Resolution 240322.
All right, motion on the floor to pass Resolution 240322 40322. Any support? Supported by the councilman in the first ward. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Ms. Burns.
Shelley, through you to Shelley Sparks Green. I think this is you, right? Who is this? Do we know what department this is? Okay. Okay, this is dealing with the, is it the navigators? No. Not, this goes to, Mr. Edwards, can you describe what this is? This have to do with the health office?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna tell you it's already in the background, piece. It's, through business and community services, that's, Emily Doerr's, department.
Oh, she's not here today.
And this has to do with the Imagine Flint neighborhood planning as they're going through right now, because she's been involved in looking at the 5-year plan. We're presenting it right now in various community forums, updating. So this is all about expanding and looking at and trying to find ways to update that whole plan and talk about the
I got it,
implementation.
because I've been to the meetings.
Okay,
so you-
okay, I'm sorry.
And she is going throughout the city, and she
Yes.
was actually at my ward, which I know she met Karen Key there, because she was there, she had input, and talking about basically dream big. And she had, I don't know if she's done with her day meetings yet. She had a series of day meetings.
They're still going on.
Oh, they're still going on?
They're going to be going right into September.
Okay, because I think that her meetings are really good, and she's getting some great feedback.
Yes, she's been at the Gloria
At the
Coles
public library
Library.
now?
Yes.
I like that she's doing, I know people weren't fans of the master plan. The master plan has gotten some bricks thrown at it, maybe some semi-trucks thrown at it. But I like that she's saying we have an opportunity to change this and to, what is it you want your city to look like? And I like that she's going around and people are really paying attention to what she's, they want input. People have said, I know over in Mott Park, people were stating, we made input before and nothing was done. And I like that she's saying, let's do this again. Emily delivers. And that's one of the things I really do like about her. She does deliver, and she understands. And I think it also helps that she is a small business owner too, and the things that she does in Flint. So I support this. Thank you for explaining what it is. Like I said, sorry, it's a lot to catch up on when we brushing up on it. Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
No problem.
Anyone else in the first round?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Pfeiffer.
Through you to Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, what are the dollars actually going to be used for? Is she hiring staff? Is this for, I don't see exactly what, I understand what
And I don't know
the,
do you know what the revenue expense accounts are?
so is this going to salaries? What is this going to?
That's not staff.
Okay, it appears that based on the account numbers is relevant to hiring professional services, not staff itself.
So so they're going to be just helping her develop all the input?
Or reach all of these targeted communities, because the master plan, as you know, is so vast and so big, and it had like 10 different parts. That's why she's having these various community forums. So I think the intent is, because as I see it here, 200,000 is budgeted for 1 year, 200,000 is budgeted for another year. So I would have to believe at this point that she's trying to figure out ways of engaging, as Councilwoman Burns talked about, ways of bringing more of the community, getting them more involved, getting more services, because we put together the plan many years ago, but it has been a matter of implementation of the plan.
So these dollars will be used for community outreach, not necessarily putting together the final action plan on what she's gathering? Or is it going to be all of the above?
I would say all of the above.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, anyone else in the first round? Anyone else in the second round?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Burns.
I do want to say this for those who are listening. It is important for people to attend those meetings. Because you may not like what's going on in the city, if this is the opportunity to have input. I don't, is Mr. Everett, is it back up on the city website, her meetings, or do we know where it's at?
I believe so, for the most part, because they've done a lot. I know that there was a media release telling exactly the locations and when. It was a calendar showing where when they would happen and where they would happen. So I have to believe it's up on the website, but I would have to double check.
And it is a good thing. I mean, I know the 6th Ward, really, the room was packed. We had not one extra seat at all. And that's a good thing because people want to see, we want their input. Emily needs their input. And you actually hear some good ideas from members of the community because people on different sides of town need different things for what their community, looks like, what their needs are. And so I absolutely support that. I support, I'm gonna have to ask her because I'm gonna have to share that one on my media. I shared the other one when she was going around to the wards, but this should be shared. You said it's still at the public library?
Yes, these next sessions I know she's already had 2 I know of at the library.
Are they weekly? I'll shoot her an email to send me a.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
the
shoot her an
schedule, we can get you the schedule.
Yeah, if you could do that, because I would like to share, because Flint is changing, is definitely changing, and I think people need to get involved to be a part of that change. I really do. And I like that she's able to pull people in, and people have a lot of great ideas, to share, and especially, with block clubs. I have 6 block clubs in my ward, which is a lot. And my residents have a lot to say. They communicate a lot, which I think is really good. So if I could get that so I could share it, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else in the second round?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Councilmember in the 9th Ward.
thank you. So by way of information, those series of meetings this Thursday from 2 until 4 at the Flint Public Library is the last of the meetings for this first series of 6. Starting September 12th, and it's funny that it's at Hasselbring, the next series of meetings will all be held at Hasselbring. They will start September 12 and be each week thereafter, the 12th, 19th, 26th, going into October 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th. And those meetings will be in the evening, starting at 5:30 at Hasselbring. So that means Miss Lewis is going to have to be there late those nights, actually. So, because, but anyway, at Hasselbring, the next series of those Imagine Flint meetings starting September 12th. If you are able to come out this Thursday from 2 until 4, they have been very conscious of our time. I've made every of the meetings in this series, and they have, outside of the first meeting where we were getting to know each other, but every meeting thereafter, they have been intentional about getting us out in the window of time that they have allotted. So something that, yes, Ms. Doerr has been very intentional on trying to reach as many people and be as inclusive as she possibly can be in this effort for us to provide input in how we imagine Flint. And that's all I'm gonna add.
All right, anyone else in the second round? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and vote for Resolution 240322. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett? Yes. Mr. Alamin? Yes. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Burns? Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
Could you please repeat that, Madam Clerk?
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
So the vote is 7 yes, 0 no. That resolution passes. Now we proceed to Resolution 240337.
Approve, send for approval.
Support.
All right, motion made by the council member in the 8th Ward, supported by the councilwoman in the 7th Ward. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Burns.
To you, to Ms. Sparks Green. Ms. Sparks Green, can you tell us what this is for? Is this the 400,000 before that you had needed to fund this office like a
Yes.
year ago?
Yes.
Okay, and then we had, and I do want to ask about, because I have really heard some good things that have come out that office, with helping people get filters, connecting them with the services, with the 211, so that everything has been basically on the same. What I am concerned about is Faith Grossbeck fired.
Well, I don't know if she's fired or not, but I know she's on leave right now.
Is she still on leave? Faith worked to get a program which was to get 50 homes done for plumbing, $6,000 apiece. To my understanding, she was told that because she was working with 2 organizations and Arthur Woodson, that she was told not to. And she was put on a leave and asked to turn in her laptop, her badge, and her items. Now, getting in-home plumbing has not happened in the city of Flint. Faith, I remember she sat over there and she was very adamant about that opioid money, making sure we use that opioid money for what it goes for. I know there's some things that are going on in that office, and she's been instrumental, very instrumental. Not getting those homes, those 50 homes, has that gone to the wayside? Or are we still getting those 50 homes with plumbing and home plumbing done? Is Mr. Edwards, can you speak to that? Did that go away with Faith being gone because there was money set aside working with those 2 nonprofits? Are we still getting the in-home plumbing done?
I'm sorry, I didn't
So
fully
there
hear the
were
question.
50 families, $6,000 apiece, at $300,000, which was grant money that was given to do 50.
It wasn't given yet, but the grant has been submitted.
Right, it has been submitted. But to do 50 homes to begin the process of getting people who had severe corrosion or high lead levels, who had not had indoor plumbing yet. Is that still, even though she's not here right now, is that still moving forward, or did that stop?
No, that's still moving forward. The problem was the collection of people, of our citizens and residents' personal information by a nonprofit group was the issue that we were trying to work through on that.
So for her to, and I'm gonna put it on the floor.
Yeah.
And, because this, getting in-home plumbing is serious. People's plumbing is, bad in some areas, especially if the homes, were older homes and they don't have the money.
Yes.
And so the issue was Arthur Woodson was going to be letting the people know, and that she wasn't supposed to have contact with him.
No, ma'am. The
That's
issue
not
was,
it?
the issue was the collection of the residents' personal information by a nonprofit organization instead of a
Okay.
vetted business, yes.
So the 2 nonprofits were the nonprofits that was she not supposed to work with that? Because, I'm all for anybody gonna do some in-home plumbing. I'm gonna tell you, it could be Trump coming in here saying he gonna do Flint's, as long as there's no ties to it, fix the in-home plumbing.
It was fine to work with it. It was just, they would have to be used in a different way. The
So have you
nonprofits.
facilitated in a different way? Because didn't she write the 2 grants? Did she write the
She
grant?
wrote them in partnership with the lead-based paint group.
Okay, so she submitted the grants for that, didn't she? Okay, I know this is, because this is gonna be my yes or no vote. I get some people, and I think it got you get personalities get into it to be a problem, just like people wanted to meet the pharmacist, Ms. Key. It's about the work. And so she was really doing the work. So I don't know her personal thing, because she's in limbo, but I know there was some great work coming out that office while she was there. And so I'm concerned about that. That program is huge, because it was like a pilot.
The program will still go on if we receive the grant. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, I'm gonna let my colleagues speak. So that's my time. I yield my time.
All right, anyone else in the first round?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Pfeiffer.
So I don't know what Ms. Burns is speaking of as far as the Ms. Grossbeck being on leave or whatnot, but some of my colleagues may or may not know that we had drag-out fights on this council when they wanted to fund this out of ARPA. And I think we partially funded out of ARPA, but originally this was all supposed to come out of ARPA, and I was fighting for this to be from the opioid as much as possible. So with that being said, I would be disingenuous if I didn't support this, because this was the original point of funding that I wanted this office to come from. So I will be supporting it, but I hope that people weren't released or whatever for their political ties or whatever. So I hope that's not the case, but I
No,
will
sir.
be supporting this. Thank you.
Anyone else in the first round? Go ahead, Mr. Councilman, First Ward.
Through you to the speaker. Ms. Green, is this the, I know we spoke about this before, is this the one where like 30% of the funding could be utilized in other areas?
No, this would come directly, this would come from a grant that's through, forgot who it's through. Is it Eagle? I think it's Eagle. Through
Oh,
Eagle
okay.
to, they're gonna fund that project.
Okay, thank you.
Request for information.
So what is your request?
Mr. Elamine, are you speaking of this 400,000 or the water thing that Ms. Burns was speaking of? Yeah, so that's not a
Wait,
grant.
say that again, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
I was looking, I was speaking in regards to the 400,000 in regards to the opioid. I know you guys came to the podium before at one of the committee meetings, and I just was wanting some clarity. Is this the one with those funds where like 30% could be utilized in other areas?
No, this is from the 70% of the funds.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
point of information. I think you all are talking about the same thing. He's just
He's talking
saying
about
it differently. The answer to your question is yes. Yes, this is opioid funding money where the state said that we could use 30% of that funding money for something different, but this is that, yes.
It's that same grant, but it's coming out of the 70%, yeah. Okay,
It's not the 30%
Yeah.
part of it, but
It's
this
the
is,
70%.
you're talking about the same thing
yeah,
now.
thanks for that clarity. Thank you.
All right, so this concludes the first round. Anyone else in the second round? All right, seeing that we have none, we will go ahead and call for the vote. And this is to pass Resolution 240337, the funding of the Public Health Office via the opioid settlement funds. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Jarrett. Mr. Alamin. Yes. Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Ms. Bichette.
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, so that resolution passes. So now we move on to Resolution 240340.1. Any motions?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Councilwoman 7th Ward.
I make a motion that we pass Resolution 240340.1, which is the amended resolution and guidelines granting hardship exemptions for property taxes.
All right, any support? Did I hear support? First Ward. All right, any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Councilman in the Ninth Ward.
I don't, could speak to this, is there, from the administration, particularly to be able to give us an idea what this change looks like. So it's gonna increase, the 150% going to 200 looks like what dollar amount for a single family, two family, three, and what have you? Who can share that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Who can share what the dollar amount impacts looks like for this resolution? Going from 150 to 200 means people under what dollar amount now qualifies?
That depends on the size of the household.
I understand that,
Okay.
but what do those numbers look like specifically, exactly?
I don't have that.
To Madam Chair, to the councilman, yeah. Those numbers being quite specific, we don't have those numbers. That would have to come from Stacy, the assessor. She would have to pull that together for you.
Okay.
And I would recommend at this point, I mean, if it's given that that information is not provided to you right now, I don't know in terms of whether you voted up or voted down or want to postpone it. That would be strictly a decision from council. But yeah, we would have to get with her to be able to pull some definitive numbers together for you.
It does not tonight necessarily prohibit me from voting in the affirmative. What I want to be able to do is ensure that we know both as a body and then be able to communicate to our residents what this means for them really in dollars and cents, especially when we're saying we're gonna now open up the door a little wider so people can come in who need this service. Because, you know, some may not know that $30,120 is 200% for a family of one, or $40,880 for a family of two, or $51,640 for a family of three, or $62,400 for a family of four, you know, up to a family of eight, $105,440. So to be able to share that type of information, to me, I believe is important, and I would hope that if I could respectfully ask, if as the administration is putting these type of proposals or resolutions together for us, if they can provide some of that information so that we can properly share it and be knowledgeable as a body, or be all working from the same information as a body, and not sort of otherwise, I'm not going to say blindly voting something up or down, but not with full information.
Madam Chair. Yeah, I need to double check, because most everything, I think that if you look at your agendas, most always there is a staff review form that accompanies it. And so this is not, as I said, this is not the original one that was signed, so I don't know if there was some accidental separation of the supportive material, so I'm looking for that right now. Thank you.
All right. All right, anyone else in the first round?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, council member in the 8th Ward.
Through you to Mr. Edwards and Mr. Moore. So, do you have any documentation of a staff review on this? Because I would like to know the budget implications of this. Because obviously this would be a potential budget item. So have we figured out how much, because we would have to do a budget amendment, right?
It will not affect this year, or this tax.
Well, it should, because it goes into effect January 1, so that's fiscal year 25. I mean, we're in fiscal year 25 now.
Right, but this would go into effect for the tax bills that issued after January 1st.
Can you speak into the microphone? I'm sorry.
This will go into effect for tax bills issued after January 1st, 25.
So it would be the taxable year of 26?
Right,
So we'll not have,
right, there's a lag between the tax year and the fiscal year.
well, it would have, it should have tax implications. It won't, okay,
Well, no,
so,
it will, you're right, it will have tax implications, but it won't affect the current fiscal year, it'll affect next fiscal year.
okay. All right. To Mr. Jarrett's point about not having numbers, do we have any idea of how many residents this would impact? And have we done a fiscal analysis on what it would do to the budget in 26?
We don't have it. We don't have that information. No.
So
I would say table.
is it gonna be detrimental to the budget in 26? Like, is this, is this a 500 residents? Is this 5,000 residents?
I don't think it's going to be detrimental, but we can get you the numbers that will show that.
So, shouldn't increase it, it's gonna take away tax revenue. If they're not paying it already, then it would. When can we get this information? Is there a way to actually figure this out, to see how many, property tax exemptions for hardships were approved last year?
Get the number. I'm not sure about
Oh, they should
the
have.
question that Mr. Jarrett asked. That's pretty simple to get. The numbers that your question, I'd have to talk to Stacy about that.
Just to see how many people qualified for the
Right.
Exemption last year, and I'm assuming it would
We
go
had
up
the numbers for last.
proportionally
Right.
for this one, and
We can tell you what the impact is at the 150, because we know that, and then the numbers for the 200%, that's going to be an estimate.
and do the surrounding municipalities also have 200?
I have no idea about the surrounding
So
community.
where is the 200 coming from? Why are we jumping to 200? What's the history on that, do we know?
I think the assessor's intent in offering this was to capture, based on the previous year, tried to capture more people and give more people access to this benefit.
No, I get it, and I'm not gonna stand in the way of this, but I just wanna know what the financial impact is to the budget. And who picked 200 and not 300? Like, I just wanna know the history of this, and unfortunately, we don't have any kind of staff review on this one, so I'll yield, but would like to know that information as a follow-up, please.
All right, anyone else in the first round?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Councilman in the first ward.
Through you to the speakers, just for clarity, so this exemption is this the one that provides much needed financial relief for low-income families or individuals in hardship?
I couldn't hear your last part of the question.
So this is the exemption that will provide much needed financial relief for low-income families or individuals facing economic hardship? And is it like a cap, or does it have to be specifically what that hardship has to be for individuals to benefit from
There's
it?
there's a formula that they follow. There's a maximum amount of value of the house that they can, home equity that the homeowner can have to qualify. If you have, I believe it says it's $15,000 is the maximum equity you can have in your home. If it exceeds that, then you want to qualify for it.
My colleagues both of them made a good point over there in regards to it would be good and helpful to kind of see how many people this could impact and kind of do an analysis. So that would be super helpful if that's something we could get as well.
I would agree. There's a couple of factors that we need to talk to Stacy to get the numbers for it, because I don't have any idea about what the equity people would have in their homes.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
So, anyone else in the first round? Anyone else in the second round?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, council member in the ninth ward.
thank you, through you to the gentleman at the lectern. So, if I understand, did I hear correctly, Mr. Moore, that this will go into effect in like 25?
Right. It goes into effect January 1st, 2025 for any tax bills that are issued after that date.
Right, right. Okay, so that sort of said, I absolutely am in support of trying to help the residents of the city, especially those that have need to stay in their home. That's what I do 40 plus hours a week outside of sitting in this seat. What I want to make sure that we do, and that I'm satisfied to know we did it as a city, is our due diligence. So I'm not comfortable knowing that we have fully assessed the impact of doing this. Not to say that stops us from doing it, but we at least got to know how and what adjustments we might need to make between now and the end of the year. Like, we need to have a sense as to how this is going to impact us. Because again, not to say that I don't want to do it, but I really do think we still have a little bit of work to do.
I would agree.
Before I'm comfortable saying, yep, let's do it. I'm ready to say, yep, let's do it if we have the information we need, or I feel I need to be able to lend my vote in support. So that said, I would like question, do you believe that type of analysis can be done in the next week?
I think so. I'd have to talk to the city assessor. Yes, I believe that's possible.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to make a motion to move this back to this would be governmental
Finance?
or this would be finance. Okay, I'm gonna make that motion so that it gives you all some time to do that, and like I say, because otherwise, if I know that we've done our due diligence as a governmental entity to say, yep, this is the impact of doing this, which we want to be able to do, that may give us some time, and or may find that this is not enough time. And because this is not going to take place really until 2025 anyway, we got a couple of days on this one. So thank you for giving us this lead time to even be able to work through some of the concerns that we have. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move this to finance.
Been a motion on the floor to move it to, did you say finance?
Yes, that's what I'm told, yeah.
All right, supported by the council member in the
I thought it was
first,
governmental ops.
in the first ward. Supported by the council member in the first ward. To, excuse me, Councilwoman?
Point of order, or request for information.
Madam Clerk,
Yeah.
So, 1 second. So, do you want the,
I don't believe that's the correct committee.
I thought it was governmental ops.
so right now, we are in the second round, so it should be 3 minutes?
No,
No, sure.
we're trying to, he's making a motion, and we need to send it to the correct committee. The correct committee is not finance.
Yeah, I'd like to correct the motion that it goes to governmental ops.
All
as opposed
right.
to finance.
Okay, got it. Any support for government ops? Is it the same support, Mr. El Alamin? Yes. All right, so it has been moved and properly seconded by Mr. El Alamin to send to government ops. Thank you so much for clearing that up. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Alamin? Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett?
Yes.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, so that resolution has been sent back to government ops. So now we will move on to, 1 second, to the introduction and reading of ordinances. Resolution 240192.1, the amended ordinance regarding the Chapter 46 Utilities, Article 2. What's the pleasure of the body? We are on page 11.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. You said 240192.1?
Correct.
To pass Resolution 240192.1, which is the amended ordinance for Chapter 46, which is replacement lead services, service lines.
All right, so it has been moved and properly supported by the councilman in the first ward. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Let's see, who's here that can answer questions? Madam Chair, through you to, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, while you walk in, can you tell me where are we as far as the lead service line replacement? And who's out there working right now as of today?
I'm sorry, I did not even hear which resolution. I can
This
answer.
is the
I can answer
resolution.
I can answer the question. I'm just letting you know that I didn't hear which resolution you were on.
This is the resolution for the amended ordinance for the replacement of the lead service lines.
Okay. Yeah, the ordinance, of course, coming through the legal department in terms, but your question was relevant, not necessarily to that portion. You just want to know.
Yes.
The activity is going on right now,
If the
of course.
activity is going on.
Yes, same, we're utilizing the same vendors. Nothing changed about the vendors that were engaged in that. We still have LGC as the primary vendor, and the subs that they're working with, that's Lakeshore Global Company. They're the same ones when we talked with the state and made the joint agreement with the state. Lakeshore is still doing the line replacement and restoration work. Rowe is still handling the engineering construction oversight.
Okay, so now this ordinance is basically through you, Madam Chair, to legal, the city attorney. This ordinance is basically trying to get everyone, all of the residents, to go ahead and get their lead lines checked, right?
That's correct. There were a number of addresses that either gave an outright declination to have their service line checked, and there's a number of addresses in addition to that that were non-responsive to scheduling attempts so that the city could examine the line composition.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you realize that over in University Park Estates, okay, they do not have lead or galvanized pipes, right? They're newer homes, as well as in Smith Village, the newer homes. So you may have received like residents saying no because they already know that their lead lines are not, their lines are not lead or galvanized pipes. What are you doing about that?
Well, with respect to those two neighborhoods that you identified, the city did raise that issue with the plaintiffs in the concerned pastors litigation. It was the plaintiff's position in that lawsuit that those addresses, the city still had to attempt to obtain consent, and if consent was obtained from those addresses, the city still was obligated, pursuant to the terms of the settlement agreement, to examine line composition status, even though the city of Flint pointed out, as the councilwoman mentioned.
So we're paying the company to come out and examine those lead lines, and you know that the lead lines are not lead or galvanized.
And that was the city's position that the city raised on multiple occasions. But it was determined by the plaintiffs in conjunction with the court in that litigation that the city still had an obligation to either attempt to obtain consent to check those lines, or if they did consent, to actually perform the service line excavation. The city did fight against that and raised the same position that the councilwoman
That
does.
doesn't make sense to me.
It was driven-
That's like throwing money away.
It was driven by the courts. The court, as pointed out by legal counsel, the court was the driver on that, and that's why you had the plaintiffs and their attorneys specifying, we need this done.
Okay, my
All
time
right.
is up. I'll yield.
All right, anyone else in the first round?
Request for, yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So, through you to Attorney Cupp, so those residents in that neighborhood will be subject to this ordinance in attorney fees if they refuse, correct?
That would be correct unless we have already identified their line composition status through an excavation.
So if they,
Some may have consented, and the
those who
city,
didn't consent, and we're all in agreement that lead lines don't exist because of the age of the home, those folks will now be required, or they'll be paying attorney fees. Is that a correct statement?
that's correct if they decline to allow the city to examine the line composition status.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead,
through
Councilwoman
you to the
74.
attorney. So, because this is gonna come, the EPA is already working on something like this anyway. And so is the state of Michigan, where it has to happen. So I guess my question is, because legally, we have no choice, is there any way that they can go to court? Are there any records that we already have on file of what is already in the ground for them? Because I know with a lot of it, it was the fact that we didn't have any updated records. Our records were old, they were on little cue cards or whatever. And so, but with these people, there should actually already be in a system because they're newer homes. And so do these people have any recourse to go to court and say, here's the proof? And so their lines should not have to be dug up, because again, the city's just getting ahead of what the EPA and the state is already going to do anyway. And so whether we do this or not, once it comes down from the EPA or the state, what will be their recourse then?
And in response to that, I would say if there's some type of documentary evidence that either the homeowner, property owner has, or the city already has in its possession at the Water
Right.
Service Center,
Okay.
I think that documentary evidence would be sufficient. It's the cases where we do not have that.
Got it.
And again, I'm not sure with those two specific neighborhoods, what we do or do not have as a city.
Madam.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, I would add, though, that I remember in this circumstance, too, that we presented information that the plaintiff's attorney rejected.
Oh.
So that's why we had to pursue more aggressively, you know, checking out the lines and so forth, because there were actual records with the Water Service Center about areas of that particular neighborhood, and
So-
they didn't want to accept those as valid.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the city did present evidence that these two neighborhoods have newer systems, that they're not lead or galvanized steel, and that the plaintiffs who are suing us insisted that these people get their lawns dug up no matter what, even though there's proof that their lawns don't need to be dug up.
For all of those that were included in the lawsuit,
Mm-hmm.
that is absolutely true.
So even though we're saying we're doing this strictly for people who refused and we don't have records, but with these particular people, there may be some records because they're newer homes. Because of what the court is saying, they do not have a right to say, don't dig up my yard because you have proof that these are not lead or galvanized steel.
The plaintiff's attorney position was that the records were insufficient. In their minds, they were insufficient, and they wanted substantial validation. We'll use that term.
So even though the city is doing this to help stop an active public health crisis, we know the EPA is coming and they're going to do it anyway. This is something I will say that the EPA, this is something that is a part of their discussion and their changes to the lead and copper rule, I'll say it that way, throughout the country. We know the state is also putting some measures in place as well. And so we're saying residents just don't have a recourse for this at all. But I guess the EPA and the state, should they move forward with their recourse on this, they will probably accept the records, but the court is not accepting the records.
The state also has a position.
Oh, okay.
Let me give you clarification. I'm sorry. The state also has a position. One of the lawsuit requirements is that we have a repository of all this information. That an accurate repository. In fact, we won't reach the end of this road until we have an active, current repository that shows every address.
So even in some of these cases, for some of these people, the state is still requiring it for them as well? Okay.
Yes, they want to know that we
I
got
understand.
one place we can go, and we know every home.
I got it.
We want to know all the compositions. We want to know that the line has been checked or replaced in one place.
So even though this is us getting ahead of what's already coming, it's technically already here. I understand.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Anyone else in the first round? All right, anyone in the second round?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, council member in the 5th Ward.
Okay, so I guess my next question, Mr. Edwards. Have you guys begun letting the residents over in University Park Estates as well as Clark Commons, Smith Village, have you let them know that someone will be coming to their door to get consent to dig up their lawns, to check their pipes? And how are you gonna do that?
Communication activities took place in that area. Now with the current transition from City of Flint totally driven to state engagement, I'm not sure where we're at in terms of the communication that maybe have been extended to that area.
Yeah, because Roe did knock on my door. And I told them specifically, I said, look, I don't have lead or galvanized pipes. I know that they did do the house a couple of doors down. And they did find that that house did not have lead or galvanized, pipes. So, and I can understand that, the state wants to be sure, and we have one place to look to make sure that that there are no lead or galvanized service lines. I can understand that. But we need to be able to put it out there, because I know you're gonna get a lot of, complaints from University Park Estates. I'm just saying. And they're gonna be calling me. So we need to be able to, let them understand why this is happening. So I'm just saying. Maybe we can have a meeting.
Yeah. I can convey that to the sources that are currently engaged. Yeah, I mean, valid point.
Yeah. We need to let them know. And I'm just saying, it's gonna be a lot of, pushback. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mr. Pfeiffer.
I would say to the residents out there in those two neighborhoods and anyone that hasn't yet allowed the inspection or replacement to go ahead and do so, so that we can, as a city, move forward. I know that if there's any light at the end of the tunnel at this point, is that the state is paying for it, and hopefully the restorations won't be sitting out there for a year plus like the last ones. So hopefully that if they do get dug up, or when they get dug up, the restorations happen more expeditiously than previously. So that's all I will say on that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, anyone else would like to speak in the second round? Okay, seeing no one else, we are looking to send this resolution up for approval. So, Madam Clerk, are you ready? All right, so roll call.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Ms. Mashat.
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett. Yes. Mr. Alamin. Yes. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. Resolution 240192.1 has been approved.
Madam Chair, motion to adjourn.
Support.
There's been a motion on the floor to adjourn, supported by the councilwoman in the 7th Ward. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Ms. Mashat. Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett. Yes. Mr. Alamin. Yes. Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. This meeting is officially adjourned at 8:50. Have a great evening.